The Daily Nation up next. Intern teachers win fight for higher pay is what we have as a splash. And we have the flag of reading education, employment on permanent terms pushed forward by 6 months to start on July the 1st. Is a boon here for teachers. 26,000 tutors hired in January last year to teach in public junior secondary schools can now end their ongoing strike and go back to class after the House Education Committee intervened to have the TSC allocated 8.3 billion shillings to convert them to permanent and pensionable terms with a hefty pay rise, allowances and benefits to boost. You have a story on page 23 of the publication today. State walks back on its plan to end school feeding schemes, or feeding scheme I should say. Hundreds of thousands of children from vulnerable homes have a reason to smile after Parliament overruled the National Treasury and reinstated a 2 billion shillings allocation for the school feeding program. This is after the National Assembly's Education Committee reversed proposed budget cuts to the program in the next financial year. And the story continues on page 2 and 3. Why NCIC wants new names for 10 counties. The 10 counties named after ethnic groups could have their names changed should plans by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission succeed. The counties are Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Nandi, Kisii, Turkana, Embu, Samburu, Taita Taveta, West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet. And you can follow this story on page 12, why there is a reason why they should be changing their ethnic names, all in an effort to try and have a cohesive society, not labeled after your ethnic community. That is what is depicting. It means also many of the universities have to change their names as well. You can follow the story inside the publication today. Supremacy contest rock regions in UDA grassroots elections. President William Ruto's United Democratic Alliance is facing silent political wars, now intensified by ongoing party elections as factions emerge in various regions across the country. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation today. Trucks, buses forced to use Toll Expressway in Nairobi, Mombasa fares transport cost to rise. The first year, of course, is in quotation marks there. You can follow the story on the back page of the Daily Nation today. Not all about goodies. US flexes soft power as it advances rights issues in Kenya. This story on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Why firebrand Babu is causing jitters in ODM? The 34-year-old says he'll be running for a top seat. And that is all about political or party politics. He has held frenzied and packed rallies in 3 or 4 Nyanza counties. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. On the side, but Kenyans are still shying away from cremation. Will you sign off to be cremated or have a loved one interred that way when they die? A question to think about. It will cost you only 50,000 shillings, driving down the massive pressure of funeral costs that millions grapple with in the country. A majority of families still shun cremation, citing cultural and religious dogma. But you can read all about it on page 2 of the publication today. Grim tells us data shows rise in rape and defilement. Agnes Wayaka, not her real name, turned her house into a safe house for girls and boys defiled by persons known to them. Last year, she received 15 cases. One of them was VKO, a boy of 4 years who was violated by their house help or defiled by their house help. You can follow the story on page 3 of the Star today. Mogoka ruining families and mental health. A father of 4 struggled with Mogoka and cigarette smoking for 24 years. His marriage crumbled, his business collapsed, his health deteriorated, and he ended up in the streets as a mental health case, all because of Mogoka and cigarettes. You can follow the story on page 7. Even as the debate ensues there and continues between governors regarding the ban of Mogoka in the coastal region, and that case is alive now in court. All right, People Daily, relief as TSC opts to employ interns. It's all about academia. After protracted strike and streets demos, the Treasury allocates 28.88 billion shillings to hire JSS intern teachers on permanent and pensionable terms and promote others. We have a story on page 4 of the People Daily today. And Ruto's new strategy to campaign for Raila, that is on page 7. MPs probe crimes by British Army. And there's a thief. Elders reach out to reconcile presidency. That is on page 6 of the People Daily today. And push to stop use of firewood in schools as well is on. That story on page 3 of the People Daily today. Taifa Leo, kura UDA walimana ni hali ya mwenye nguvu mpishe katika chama cha rais, wanasiasa wengi wakiwania kuwa vigogo wa maeneo. And you can read all about it on page 2 of today's publication. Bunge la agiza walimu wa JSS waajiriwe, and Man United na Chelsea sokoni kusaka kocha. That story on page 20 of Taifa Leo. Hutanunua umeme kwa siku mbili. KPLC yasema kuanzia Jumapili huduma za kununua stima itakosekana. That story on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Kikwazo kipya kwa magavana wanaostaafu. That is on page 3. And of course that is the Constitution Amendment Bill that seeks to bar governors who are currently serving or they're in their last term for vying as senators there, vying for a senatorial seat. You can follow the story on page 3 of the publication this morning. Let's buckle down to some business where two words cost Heineken 1.8 billion shillings in row with tycoon. Distributor wins 8-year court battle over termination. Choice of words in termination letter haunts brewer. A misunderstanding over two words without prejudice contained in a letter sent to Tycoon Ngugi Kiuna by Heineken 7 years ago, cancelling a distributorship contract has cost the Dutch beer maker 1.8 billion shillings. Court of Appeal judges ruled that last week that the letter addressed to Maxim Limited was not legally binding and that the contract between Heineken and Mr. Kiuna's farm was not terminated lawfully by the time Heineken engaged other distributors. The distributor sought damages for loss of business amounting to 1.799 billion shillings, among other damages. The term, quote-unquote, without prejudice means without loss of any. You can follow the story there on page 2. Any continues there, so I'll not give you the any of the continuation of the story. Grab a copy to read the rest of the details there inside the Business Daily. CAK 6 powers to auction farms of unpaid fines. That story on page 2 of the publication today. Buses, trucks to be forced to use new US-backed expressway. The Kenya government may force trucks and buses to use the proposed high-speed highway from Mombasa to Nairobi to be built by a consortium of US companies. And Scan Group lays off 102 employees in latest restructuring. Listed marketing services firm WPP Scan Group laid off 102 employees in the year ended December as it continued to focus on cutting costs. Stunted profit surges 39% in first quarter to 5.6 billion shillings, and fresh taxes threaten to take the fizzle out of Green Revolution. All that on page 12 of the publication this morning. Let's cross over to Tanzania, where the Bank of Tanzania explains a word of banknotes tender. Central Bank Governor Emmanuel Tutuba says the selection of British security printer Devolution International Limited and currency of Malta was based on established procedures during the evaluation process. And here he says the Bank of Tanzania has been closely monitoring its internal currency management strategy to ensure that there is an adequate stock of banknotes of all denominations throughout the year. This is Emmanuel Tutuba, the governor of the Bank of Tanzania. Also, government is mulling over movable assets as collateral for bank loans. The Finance Ministry is considering drafting a bill that will seek to make it possible for business people to secure bank loans using motor vehicles and other movable assets as collateral. That story is on page 3. Invest more in infrastructure, Africa is urged, and you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication this morning. And land dispute, state now turns to tech. All that tucked away on page 4 of the Citizen. The Daily Monitor did not show up today, so we'll cross over to Rwanda, where we have the New Times. UN reports, it says UN report, I should say, pinpoints FDLR new hierarchy in DR Congo. The DRC government deployed into rank and file of FDLR over 500 fighters. On page 3 is the story where it is well fleshed for you. And Kagame meets Malian Foreign Minister. You can see him here with Abdoulaye Diop, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mali, and Special Envoy of Colonel Assimi Goita, the head of state of Mali, at village Uriguiro on Monday. And you can follow the story also inside the publication today. Musanze to establish Mukungwa Urban Eco-Tourism Park. And Rwanda launches program in obstetrics and gynecology to check maternal deaths. That story on page 5 of the publication today. The East Africa this week, Biden's plan to eclipse China influence in East Africa. US elevates Kenya to pivotal position in trade, security and diplomacy with funding for an expressway along China-built SUR military hardware debt relief. And the story continues on page 4 and 5 of the publication this week. Rwanda finds ants coming. With the UK going to pause in July, the migrant scheme may never get off ground. That is on page 10. Somalia town picks up pieces at Dobli, a violence-racked region whose rebirth AU forces have midwife. You have a story on page 8 and 9 of East African this week. China is up next. That is the China Daily Global Edition. Energizing of Central Region highlighted. Political Bureau also reviews measures to help prevent diffuse financial risks. A meeting of the Communist Party of China's leadership called on Monday for new breakthroughs in propelling the rise of the nation's central region, pledging tailored approaches to cultivate new quality productive forces, expedite the establishment of a modern industrial system, and fortify the real economy. You have a story continuing inside the publication today. And also you can see related pictures as well of that meeting. China-Arab countries to seek end of Gaza conflict. China and Arab nations are expected to issue a joint call for bringing an end to the Gaza conflict as soon as possible, and urging the international community to implement the two-state solution at a key China-Arab meeting that will be convened on Thursday in Beijing. That story continues inside the publication today, and you can see soccer diplomacy here. President of France Emmanuel Macron and Germany President Frank-Walter Steinmeier playing the table soccer on Tuesday while attending the Festival of Democracy in Berlin, Germany. The French president is on a 3-day state visit in Germany until Tuesday. The festival celebrates the 75th anniversary of Germany's Basic Law. That story also continues inside the publication as well. More of the publications as we continue with the news. For now, let me introduce our panelists who are here. Already in studio, I have Danso Mungatana, who is the senator of Tana River. We're expecting the senator of Muranga as well, Joe Newton, to join us. We'll be joined by Dan Manzo as well, who's the senator of Makueni. I can see a cancellation from one of the senators as well. She is nursing a flu. We pray that her flu will break. She'll be able to join us next week. But let me hear from Honorable Mungatana. Thank you for joining us. It's been a while. We've missed you.
Yes, good morning.
You've been on the ground in Tana River, bearing the brunt of the floods. You've been a busy man.
I've been a busy man. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. And thank you for the Kenyans who are listening to me. Been away, it's true. We have a very serious situation down in Tana River County. We are bearing the brunt of the waters. Those are not waters coming from the rain. We haven't received rain for some time. That is water coming from the highlands, in particular around the Mount Kenya area. So this water is now reaching there. And I think the biggest casualties now are the students who are supposed to report to school. We have not had a very good response from the Ministry of Education. But I want to say that I am extremely happy with the Minister for ASAL. Penina Malonza, the Cabinet Secretary, has been on the ground, and we are grateful for what she has done for us on the ground. Her her effort to spearhead the response from the national government as far as food distribution is concerned, as far as being there for the people in terms of the mattresses, non-food items as well. We were with her, and we went all over the 3 constituencies in Tana River, and we were able to launch this distribution. So I really want to thank her and the government for that bit. But the Ministry of Education has been a total letdown for us, because they have just not been there. Students have opened schools, students are on camp. And I want to thank the teachers, because some of the teachers have reported. They have even gone to the camps, but there's no set place where you can actually do some engagement with the children. So when you go to the camps, you'll find that children are running all over. They are not engaged. And imagine from morning to evening doing that. And some of the children are bigger children, so we might lose a lot of time. The schools are submerged, so they can't go to school. So, some of the schools are up there, but your village is in water. So you have to move to the camps. You can't access the schools. So it is a real big challenge. And my appeal is for the minister to come out, come and see for yourself. Because you see, when we were telling Malonza, here in Nairobi we have this and the other problem, it was a very different situation when she went to see. And she saw the real problems on the ground. So we are also asking the Minister for Education to get out of Nairobi and go there. And I'm surprised because I'm seeing even the JSS in the streets. We've not seen Machogu say anything. We've had a lot of destruction of school infrastructure for us in Tana River County and the counties that are near the waters of River Tana. We've not heard him say anything. I think we need to agree that as representatives of the president, you need to actually be on the ground to see what is happening, so that you relate the reports you receive with the reality. You don't just theorize when you are in Nairobi. So I think we need to do something about education sector as far as the problems we have. And then the other thing, and I have said this, and we are pushing this so much, is that Tana River County, when it comes to bearing the brunt of the storm waters and the flooding waters, it is us who bear it. And yet it is us who provide the waters that are used for electricity across the entire country. Kenya gets the bulk of its electricity from the Seven Forks Dam, which is hydroelectricity, like we all learned from school. But the problem is the maintenance of those dams has not been as is expected. If you go to Egypt, there's the Aswan Dam. Aswan Dam has been there for many years. But you see what they do there, and like what we are doing here. Aswan, they actually dredge and maintain the levels, and then they take that soil, which is very fertile soils, they sell it to farmers, which is used like some form of fertilizer. In Kenya, that is not being done. So what has been happening over the years, because these dams were built in the 70s, they keep filling so quickly. And when they fill up, they overflow. When they overflow, they come for the counties downstream, and Tana River bears a brunt. And you see, the problem is our place is a floodplain, basically. So when the water comes out of the channel, it hits everywhere. It goes everywhere. So we have been pushing, and I think the government is doing something about it, that the High Grand Falls, the dam called the High Grand Falls Dam, be built. We are told there was a memorandum of understanding that was signed, but funding issues have arisen, and the British people who are supposed to be spearheading that have not delivered. So we are at the point asking the government, that is the leadership of Tana River County, Lamu County, and Garissa County. We are asking the government to treat it as a security issue, that we need that high Grand Falls Dam. Because when you control the waters, then it is a big blessing. The waters of the river are a big blessing, because in our place, you don't even need fertilizer. Once you put the water, anything can grow. And we have the correct temperatures and everything, and the land is there. But then when the waters are not controlled, then they become a curse to us.
Indeed.
So ours is to continue pressing the government and the president to prioritize the building of the High Grand Falls Dam.
Thank you.
So that we can, because the amount of money they spend on relief supplies and on what emergency interventions is, I think over the years, we would have built that dam if they had just taken half that amount and put it to that project.
Fantastic.
So that is where we are in
Right, but have you
County.
also gotten the 10,000 relief for the displaced people, passes within the county?
We had the announcement in Nairobi. I raised the issue.
The exercise is still ongoing, so...
Yes, I raised the issue in Senate that we feel that there are some counties which are being favored as opposed to other counties. Because Nairobi, the disbursement was very quickly. In our sides, we are being told we are registering and we are waiting for budget allocations. You see where the problem is. So in Nairobi County, this money is being disbursed. I've seen Minister Kindiki saying that 250,000 households have received the money, something like that. But on this side of Tana River County, we have not seen a quick action being taken, and we urge that the same be done on our side. And I don't know about the other counties, but it is like town counties have quicker response whenever there are problems. Like, if you remember the last floods in Mombasa, you saw very quick action. But then the counties where we come from, we have slow national government response.
Right, thank you. Let me rope in Honorable Joe Nyutu to also just give us a snippet of what is happening on his home area, Muranga, also to just give us introductory remarks. Good to see you, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Dibal. Good morning, my colleague, Senator Mungatana. Muranga is good. I've come from there. I live in Muranga. And we are doing well. The rains have now subsided and people are safe. We thank God. And we continue working for our people.
You didn't have much of displaced persons in Muranga?
No.
The landslides?
We only actually had one landslide in Madiwea constituency, Muranga County, where we lost 6 people. Other than that, we thank God that we did not get another landslide or any other challenge. There has been some few landslides, but that have not caused any loss of life or sometimes property loss, but no other lives have been lost. We thank God. Yeah.
All right, we look forward to hearing from you also on the happy medium that is there right now. You have had a collaboration or a consultative meeting with or effort with the National Assembly that we have 400 billion shillings now that is at least some relief to the counties.
Sure.
Because there has been that particular debate, though this is not what Senate was really gagging for. I think you wanted 450 billion shillings?
415 billion.
And 15 billion
yes,
shillings.
that's what you were asking.
So you just less of 15 billion shillings.
So
which is okay.
It's good.
It's good. All right, let's just get that into perspective, where the Mediation Committee on the Equitable Revenue Share to Counties has resolved this stalemate. The joint team of members of Senate and the National Assembly has agreed on 400.1 billion shillings to be shared by the 47 counties. The deal was brokered after a standoff that saw the session adjourned briefly to allow the members from the 2 houses to consult separately. In the stalemate, the Senate had stuck with 408.702 billion shillings, down from 415 billion shillings, and their counterparts had yielded a bit from 391 billion shillings to 401 billion shillings proposal.
funding, and we had
to the end, because I would want to support it in this.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I would want us to move the money that goes to the counties to the money that the figure that people think.
We have decided to adopt a historical figure of Kenya shillings, 400.1 billion Kenya shillings, monies that will be going into our counties as shareable revenue to advance the cost of our healthcare, to advance the service in our agricultural sector, to advance the connection of water. Those functions are devolved, and for the general welfare of running our counties. I also want to thank our governors. They have been very forthright into fighting for more resources. They have met the team from the Senate. We have also met them, the team led by Governor Anne Waiguru. They have been tough negotiators for the counties. I also want to applaud the Senate because they sent the right men and women to this committee.
We have made Devolution get 15 billion more from last year. Last year, the money was about 385 billion. So we have added another 15 billion, which is going to the counties. What I want to maybe to tell the governors is that this money we are giving them, we know some counties are not running smoothly. We know there is a lot of misappropriation. The chair, CPAC is here. He can tell you what is happening there. So what we are telling them is that they should take care of this funding billion. It should go to the right use so that Kenyans can enjoy the fruits of devolution.
Kindly make sure that devolution is making a difference and the people are getting the services that they should be getting. What we are here to do as a senator is to defend devolution. And be assured, as long as we are in this Senate, we will continue fighting for devolution, because the devolution is the best thing that has ever happened to this country.
Right, Matters Health right now, where for almost 2 months now, clinical officers in the country have remained on strike, accusing the government for not addressing their plight. Speaking in Meru County, the officers have vowed to soldier on with their strike until the government listens to them and meets their demands. He is Fenikolorch with the details.
With the clinical officers strike now in its 57th day, clinical officers have vowed not to return to work until the government improves their working terms. Speaking in Meru County, led by Secretary General George Gibore, the officers have accused the Council of Governors and the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nakumincha, as the main stumbling block in their negotiations with the government to find a lasting solution.
Serikali waweze kushusha kiburi chao, waweze kuja chini, tukae chini tuongee, na ndipo tutarudi kwenye kazi. Na mpaka tuseme kwamba clinical officers does 99% of the clinical work, and that is why you go, all the outpatient services are closed, totally closed. They can't do surgery because I know they agreed with the KMPDU, their members are back, but one of the critical components to do any surgery or to make it operational, the theater, it is our clinical officer anesthetists who are out currently. So there is no services going on.
Hata shinda nyingi kutoka wakati tumeanjiriwa, saa hizi contract iliisha, hakuna pesa, watoto wetu wanalia, we cannot feed the family. So tafadhali, ile kazi mtu anafanya peke yake, I'm the CEO, I'm the records, I'm the pharmacist, I'm everything in the dispensary.
One of their demands is the employment of universal healthcare UHC workers on permanent and pensionable terms, arguing that this will be the solution to the current shortage of clinical officers in the country.
We are one of the counties that is highly affected in terms of shortage. Currently, we are having over 72 facilities with only one officer who happens to be the UHC officers. And therefore, when you talk about having our colleagues in the UHC being converted to PNP, we mean good for the population in Meru County. We mean good for those facilities so that they cannot be closed up.
The clinical officers have also condemned the Embu County government for what they claim is ignoring a court order to reinstate them on the payroll.
And it's quite unfortunate that even though other health workers are at work, in Embu currently we are not even able to do, other than emergency surgeries, other form of surgeries are not being able to be done because clinic officers are on strike, and outpatient services as well are not being able to be done because clinic officers are on strike. And it's quite disheartening because the government of Embu has failed to obey the court order that was recently issued against ordering to be returned to the payroll.
They were supported by their colleagues in Marsabit County who are complaining about similar issues, including the continued delay of their salaries.
Marsabit has its own issues apart from the national issues. Marsabit branch has its own issues like perennial delays of salaries for the past 3 months, including one of the missing November 2023 salaries.
Phoenix Oluoch, KTN News.
Now the standoff between the junior secondary schools intern teachers and the government intensified as the strike entered its 14th day on Monday. The tutors on the streets since May 13th vowed not to return to class until their demands for better remuneration and permanent employment are met. This now raising concerns over learning disruptions. And Musungu has more.
Junior secondary school teachers in Kibwezi, Makueni County are calling on the National Assembly to ensure that the Teacher Service Commission receives adequate funding to facilitate their absorption into permanent employment without budgetary constraints.
Hii pesa tunapata si ajira, hata ni hujuma kwa mwalimu. Haitoshelezi majukumu yetu. Wale wako na familia hawawezi kabisa, hata watoto wao hawaendi shule sahi, manake mzazi unapata hajalipa school fees.
The teachers argue that their role in managing the transition to the CBC is crucial, and failure to enumerate them properly will be a waste of the future of learners.
The parents of the kids in JSS, that is grade 7 and 8, your learners are suffering in the school. Nothing is going on there. The teachers on the streets demonstrating, while the learners are in the class. What are they doing? Anything going on? No, nothing is going on.
The teachers are complaining of poor working conditions and the injustice of being forced to teach subjects they did not specialize in.
We find that a teacher was trained to teach mathematics and chemistry, and that teacher is handling English. In which Kenya or in which country is this teacher going to be able to deliver to the maximum of his ability in an area that they were not trained?
Despite the prolonged strike, the intern tutors remain resolute in their pursuit of improved working condition and job security. And Musungu, KTN News, Nairobi.
The ban on the entry, sale, distribution and use of mobile car in the counties of Mombasa and Kilifi counties continue to elicit reactions among Kenyans, while farmers and traders are opposed to the ban, saying they will take a legal action. A section of residents from the coast have supported the move and asked other governors to follow suit. Clement Masomo has more.
Almost 1 week since the county governments of Mombasa and Kilifi banned the entry, sale and use of Muguka, and the debate continues to rage. Leaders, traders and farmers of Muguka from Mbere in Embu County have vowed to fight for what they term as their right, saying they will take a legal action. Led by the former Senator Lenny Kivuti, they dismissed allegations made by coastal leaders on the effects of Muguka.
I would like to support the farmers in all ways, but the best way possible that I can think of is what we have resolved today and what we resolved later in the week about the legal process.
Miraa, in general, including the Muguka, the variety, does not contain such a high level of the active ingredient which can cause damage or mental disorder.
They also castigated Meru Senator Kathuri Murungi, accusing him of inciting the coast region over the ban on Muguka.
Sasa
Ile kitu inatushinda ni kwamba watu walienda wakapanga Muguka iwe band isiende Mombasa, na tunafikiri watu wa Meru.
On Monday, traders and farmers from Embu town barricaded the Meru-Nairobi highway in attempts to block cars ferrying miraa from passing through Embu. It took the police intervention to calm the situation. Elsewhere, miraa farmers want the government to intervene and solve the stalemate between the county governments and Muguka traders. They say the stalemate has indirectly affected the miraa market and increased animosity between miraa and Muguka farmers.
So if there is some ambiguity, if there is need for more specificity, Muguka can also be included. It doesn't need a lot of miracles. It's only Mebeka to put in the Muguka in the schedule crop, and these problems are out of our way.
And in Kilifi County, activists have appealed to parents to take up the responsibility of parental guidance, especially after the ban on Muguka. They have applauded the action taken by the two governors. Speaking in Malindi town, led by Haifa Timimi, they said they want other governors to follow their steps.
Na jambo muhimu zaidi nataka kusisitiza ni kuwa tusisahau wazazi. Wazazi kama governor wetu ametuunga akatusikia vilio vyetu sisi ma-activists. Wazazi tawaomba muwe na msimamo pia. Musisitize kwa majumba kuwa watoto wasitumie hizi vitu.
Na sisi tuko tayari kama vijana na tutasimama na wewe gavana na gavana yoyote ambaye atasimama na wananchi kama vile magavana wetu wawili walivyosimama na wananchi.
The governors of Mombasa and Kilifi banned Muguka, claiming that it had greatly contributed to the increase in the number of youth admitted to rehabilitation centers in the coast. Clement Masombo, KTN News, Nyeri County.
The National Housing Corporation has launched a 353.9 billion shillings strategic plan for 2023-2027. The implementation of the plan will require the corporation to mobilize 316.7 billion shillings from external sources. That will include collaborations, a housing levy and strategic partnerships. And housing development, the corporation targets to deliver 110,000 houses. Units or housing units scaled from the initial 250,000 units proposed by the Kenya Kwanza government. In Kenya's Finance Bill 2023 that was released in May 2023, a 3% monthly basic salary contribution towards the National Housing Development Fund was proposed as a way to fund Kenya's affordable housing initiative.
Of our estates, a bit of facelifting, and of course, some of the estates will bring them down so that we can build new structures.
And we're not just talking about 4 walls and a roof. We are building schools, we are building clinics, we are building fire stations, we are giving our people a lifestyle.
NHC is more critical now than ever as we face challenges and opportunities presented by the growing population and rapid urbanization. The government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda, that is better, which prioritizes affordable housing, underscores our commitment to addressing these challenges head-on.
We are dead serious about fighting corruption. And it's about time that all professionals should really step forward and be counted in fighting corruption. Be faithful when you are generating your BQs, when you are designing structures. Be faithful to the cause when you are supervising the construction or the coming up of those structures.
Yes, you've seen now, of course, the Muguka debate continues. No Muguka beyond this point. This is what has been captured by Ozone inside the Star. And you can see the young men and women there. What is really bulging in their, of course, in their mouths is the Muguka. That is sparking a lot of debate right now. And, well, so far so good. The General Gola crash outcome. Nothing out of it so far as the investigation is concerned. This is what Stano is reminding us as well. And keep off the mountain? This is a debate that is ongoing right now. And who is the kingpin of Mount Kenya? A huge debate so far. And we have it that there is an effort to try and restore peace in the frosty relationship that is now developing there. And we can have, all we know, the frayed nerves as we speak right now. Some elders are reaching out to the Deputy President and, of course, the President as well, seeking their audience to try and bring some sobriety as far as the politics is concerned in Mount Kenya. Holding court this morning with Danson Mungatana, who is the Senator of Tana River. Also, we have with us Joe Newton, Senator of Murang'a as well, and Dan Mazo, who is the Senator of Makueni. One of the senators is taken ill, so we won't be having their presence this morning as well. So we want to hear from Dan Mazo, as one who's been missing out from the introductions this morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for joining us. Yes, we know also on Thursday is a big day. Before we buckle down to some of the discussion as well, you can tell us what Kenyans are expecting from the National Prayer Breakfast.
Yes, Honorable Mugatana is part of the team.
Oh yeah,
and
he's a choir master.
He's a choir master. So today,
so you can give us actually what is in the repertoire as far as the music is concerned, the selection.
Today, Lanjawa is going to be practicing together with some members. And this is happening on Thursday.
Mungatana didn't come with the harmonica to the studio this morning.
Yes, on Thursday. This will happen on Thursday morning at around 7 for about 2 hours. And tomorrow we'll have, for the first time, the women convocation. Women leaders in the country will do their own prayer session, which will be led by both Muslims and Christians. This will bring the leadership, including the clergy, and even a few, young people from the AWLF, from the university, and also 1 or 2 student leaders will attend with their women principals from girls' schools. And it's a way, it's a day when we, as a leadership, as Parliament, declare, just as in the Constitution, that God, the Almighty, is our God, and that we hand over the nation to God, so that He may protect us and lead us. That's what we usually do at, on the National Prayer Day. And therefore, the executive and the judiciary also join Parliament, and we fellowship together. And each one, as offer each one of those branches of government offer a prayer. We have a prayer for the nation. We have a prayer for the region. We have a prayer for families. We have prayer for children. A prayer for the world. And we're going to have very many visitors. I've already started receiving visitors this evening.
Okay.
I'll host quite a number of visitors from the United States of America. We're going to receive from UK, Germany, and the chief guest is the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, who met Christ when he was in jail, and in fact thanked his boss for putting him in jail. And eventually, of course, he became a Prime Minister of Ethiopia. So he's going to be the chief guest.
Who is the former Prime Minister?
He's, let me not disclose the names right now, but he's going to be flown from the United States of America to this place by Kenya Airways. We really are grateful to Kenya Airways for flying, as part of their contribution to the National Prayer Breakfast. In fact, quite a number of corporates do contribute, including the Cooperative Bank, CIC Insurance, because this is a very big event with close to 3,000 citizens. And in fact, the media houses, including KTN, has been leading every year, very early in the morning to talk to the clergy, to talk to the guests, to talk to the members of Parliament. So we're also very grateful to the media. It's usually a very big event which run live by yourselves and others, and Kenyans are able to follow from their offices, from their homes, and be part of this great fellowship of the country. And therefore, of course, Mugatana will lead us in the parliamentary choir. There is one by the members of staff, and then there is one by Mugatana for those who have practiced, And then there is one where we invite everybody, whether they are practiced or not, so long as they are members of parliament. And people find it quite
whether they practice
interesting.
or not.
Yes, and people find it quite interesting because members of parliament, are perceived differently. In fact, I want to tell Kenyans there are quite a number of members of parliament who are very committed to serve the people and to serve God. And in fact, every single member of parliament, if they tell you their story, they're actually a miracle. How they found themselves in parliament is very miraculous. And having been popularly elected by the people, we encourage them when they come to the house to join fellowship. We have a mosque in parliament, and we have a chapel in parliament. But we have allowed the Catholics to use the chapel. Everyone is a morning, and they are part of the program on Thursday. So we make sure we take care of all religions. And this year's theme is hope. Does Kenya have hope? And then there will be relevant Quran verses on hope, biblical verses on hope, and of the Hindus in their Gita. They have something to do with how God gives his people hope. So that will be the theme of this year. And we hope that Kenyans will be blessed by this great event.
Right. Choir Master, you've not recruited Honorable Nyutu here, or you can't even hold a note.
Honorable Nyutu is very prayerful.
He's very prayerful?
He's very prayerful man. One day we flew the whole Senate in one plane to London to do Senate machinani. And they developed a technical hitch that, in fact, we were so lucky. If we had flown with it, we would not have landed safely. And then when finally it was fixed, he prayed for safe travel, and we landed in Nairobi very safely. I love it. He's a very prayerful man.
But he can't sing.
He can sing. I'm sure on Thursday he'll be there leading in bass. Yes,
you can give us what is on your list so that we expect. I hear some have not practiced and they're coming to sing as well. You as choir master.
You see, there's the joint singing, the more common hymns where everybody comes in, and that one is allowed even in church. But we wanted to make a bit of an improvement by introducing some, can I call it local languages in part of the praise and worship, so that Kenyans who are listening to us in various parts of the country might hear me leading a song in Kisii or Luo or in Kinandi or something, and they'll be surprised that I can actually speak that language in song, so that we all join up recognizing what God has done for us so far in this year and asking him to carry us for the rest of the year. Yes.
Oh, indeed. Okay. So there's this attempt by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to make sure that some of the counties that are using their ethnic names, that should be dropped in an effort to have cohesion, and you're not labeling your county. Makueni is not affected, Taita Taveta, but also Murang'a, but Kisii, right? Like Kisii County.
Taita Taveta is on the list.
Elgeyo Marakwet. Taita Taveta is on the list.
Taita Taveta is on the list.
Taita Taveta.
Yes.
Nandi is on the list. Which other county as well?
Turkana should also
Turkana is on the list. Yes. So what do you make of that? Because I know this is within your domain as senators. That is, you're the custodians. Do you think, because that also implies a lot of offices, some of universities as well, they have to change their names. What do you think about that particular move?
I think as much as you want to do cohesion, you must appreciate that Kenya is a nation of nations. Each one of those nations are diverse. And in fact, when Kenya is a nation of nations, our diversity is our strength. So that we should really appreciate that there are many nations, 42 nations, which make one nation. And I think also, if you have to change the names because they are in some schedule of the constitution, it means you eventually must do a referendum. That's such a serious matter. I think
is that serious?
Yeah, it's eventually you must do referendum. So I think that's an exercise in futility. Maybe the cohesion have become very idle There are so many other areas you can cohese the country, other than just Kisii, Meru, you know.
Tharaka Nithi, Nandi.
Then what will you call them, even if you pretend that they don't exist? The Kamba nation is a nation. The Kikuyu nation is a nation. The Luo nation. So you can never, you know, really, eventually to come to the House, to come to Senate and National Assembly, I think there are many other things they can do to keep the country cohesive other than that idea, because we in fact, nations were created by God himself in Babylon, not Babylon, the Tower of Babel. That's where all these nations were created by God himself. And therefore, when we speak different languages, just like the Jews speak Hebrew, and I guess it is the language of heaven. I don't know, there are many languages in the world. That's why the Chinese are proud of their language. The English are proud of their language, the Germans. In fact, if you go to German and you don't speak German, you are a little bit disadvantaged. The Spanish world. So you cannot say Spain cannot be called Spain because it is Spanish. It will tell them you need to cohese the world. No, it's not possible. So I think the cohesion team should find better ways of uniting the nation. We have Kiswahili, we have many other things. But our nations should remain where accidentally or by coincidence the name of account is called by its nation. I think that's something to be proud of, not to be not to be discouraged. We are all very, very different nations which work together.
All right, people of Meru, what do you think about that? Samburu, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, Tharaka Nithi, right? Should we change your names to so that we don't go back as far as the national cohesion is concerned? Those are ethnic names, right?